Well, I'll say that me personally, I've been playing a lot of Atlas games since Final Fantasy XIII. So I think that says a
Did you
little
ever
bit about
play
what I
like
feel.
Lost Odyssey, perchance?
Yeah, I played that forever ago.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. But I mean, turn-based is like still fun in my opinion. It does put me to sleep a little bit, but that's just because I'm old. And I think that them going back to that is going to be probably a really safe move, good move even, because like I said, Atlas games have been like my refuge when it comes to getting that turn based experience.
I'm going to go out and maybe put out something a little bit controversial, especially when it comes down to this, because I've stated multiple times, I'm so glad I played 16 before I played 7R, because I felt 7R has a much better battle system and it felt really like complete. Where 16, I had a fun time, but I stated, especially at its normal difficulty that it puts you in right at the gate, I never felt like I was ever needing to make a decision. I didn't ever go and grind to be able to save up money so I can afford an upgrade or a piece of gear to make some fight that is giving me trouble to be able to overcome it. I just felt like I was able to really mash, and the combat again was fun. What I feel actually has been lacking isn't necessarily the combat. They could do action, they could do turn-based. I'm all for whatever they want as long as it's their vision. I feel like when you look at what Yoshi P and his team have created, we're going to put Final Fantasy Tactics as an exception because that's a remake. But when you look at 14 and you look at 16 versus something like Final Fantasy VII-R and Expedition 33, there's RPG in Expedition 33 and there's a RPG in Final Fantasy VII-R. Gear doesn't matter in 14 or 16. Like you could probably beat it without having to even worry about any of that. The gear just kind of happens naturally as you progress the story. They have prioritized, I think, story so much so to the disadvantage of everybody else. And I think that can easily be solved with difficulty. If you don't want to grind, if you don't want to do these various things, they've already solved that problem. They've solved that problem with Bravery Default. They've solved that problem with the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. You can boost up the amount of money and the experience. You can really help streamline those experiences for those who want that story narrative. But you should open it up to other players, especially veterans, to really kind of dive in and say, hey, yeah, like that's the thing that I immediately noticed and fell in love with the Souls games as I stepped into Elden Ring, as I've been playing No Rest for the Wicked. Like my choice, like every time I have to make a choice, I get excited because it feels like I'm presented with three amazing options. And what do I want to pick? And so I really have been drawn more into those style of games with 7R, with classic Final Fantasy, with Souls likes, because I feel like they actually represent what we want. And I've seen, I think especially with 14 and with 16, it seems like it's trying to be so mainstream and appeal to so many people that it doesn't have that purpose-driven kind of gameplay loop. Because I've stated this multiple times. Let's talk about Final Fantasy 14 as a kind of a direct response to this specifically. I've talked about this multiple times. The core design decision around Final Fantasy 14 is that you can step away from the game and you can come back and you're not going to be at this massive disadvantage to other players. So whether you take a month off or you take years off, you can come in, you can leave, and you can come back, and you are going to be okay. And there's a real advantage to that, because essentially, if you felt like, oh, I need to go grind 1,000 hours in this game just so I can get back into where I can do these various things what the community is doing, that acts as a disadvantage. However, I feel like it's shifted to there's no real purpose, right? Like if I log in and I do the thing and then you just keep doing the thing, it leads to, I think, a much faster turnaround with burnout. And thus, when you look at the game right now as it exists, generally speaking, new players, they're having a great experience. They don't understand any of the frustration or drama around the game. It's the veteran players that have, like, once you cross over a certain threshold of hours and you're like, or you played multiple expansions, you're like, oh, this is just the same thing, just in a different skybox. And I want to go to Cole, because Cole, you brought up, and specifically, especially when it related to cost. And I know you and I were talking this week specifically because the cost drama behind all of this really flew in the face of the Square Enix will spare no expense with Final Fantasy XIV, which was what Yoshi P said at Endwalker. But here we are, like 2 years later from maybe that statement, 3 years from that statement, and all of a sudden cost is a limiting factor. The player population we've known has been dropping dramatically. Now people are seeing, and you kind of having to face that reality that what people were saying last year was true. It still maintains to be true this year. But I want you to kind of weigh in with your thoughts.
Yeah. So first thing, I love Final Fantasy XIV. I love the devs. Please don't kill me. Always need to have that disclaimer.
What was that Xeno thing where he's like, like it's like the Final Fantasy XIV content creators have had this, like, all right, I'm gonna say something, but I'm gonna preface it with this like statement to protect yourself from fire and brimstone. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, you do, because they're gonna just assume that you're just hating on it, and so before I explicitly even get into cost, it's just like you compared Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy XIV with how linear things were. And that's not the first time that I've heard about things being more linear. And at this point, it feels like a really intentional design decision that even impacts things such as dungeons. And that in and of itself really hurts the diversity of gameplay that we can have, such as if you go to World of Warcraft with Mythic Plus system, you can do a whole lot of different dungeon skips and stuff along those lines. And so I think that it's that in and of itself has been a very intentional design decision. I think that you can even see that streamlining down to even Occult Crescent, where you look at the Phantom Jobs and then you see, hey, you get a certain prepackaged bundle of skills and potentially passives. Whereas if we even go back last expansion to Boja, we could see, hey, you can pick your different lost essences and lost actions and you combine things together. And so there's definitely this like streamlining, linearization, or whatever word I want to use. Things just feel more safe, more prepackaged. And so like even before it gets to cost, I think that there's some fundamental design things that are absolutely pinning the game down. Now, do I think the raid design for Dawn Trail raids is amazing? Absolutely. Like, for those who aren't familiar, there's a fight called M6 Savage, and it has an ads phase, and it's brilliantly designed. So I think in that area they are experimenting. I think that's just delightful. But when it comes to cost, if I'm super honest, last year I went to the media tour and it was a beautiful event. And I'm not just sugarcoating it or just saying it to say it. It was truly beautiful. The venue, everything. I have so many things to say that were great about it. But one thing that really stood out to me was they said 7.0 is going to be the rewards and content difficulty revamp. And so when I was sitting there, I'm thinking, oh my God, we're going to see potentially different gearing pathways. As Scrag said earlier, gearing's definitely a sore spot for a lot of people. Even if you talk to different content creators, like I think that it was Xenos' Vex, he said in a recent video, he doesn't even have all 4 tank weapons, and he's been re-clearing since week 1. It's just like eight weeks of clears for just one hard pity weapon. It kind of sucks. But my point, reeling it back, at the media tour, it was very clear this is supposed to be content difficulty and rewards revamp, and I'm kind of in the position where I'm, with no disrespect intended, where is it? And that sounds so malicious, but I swear it's not. It's just, okay, you said this, where's the delivery? And I feel like it's all coming back to that cost statement. And so it's kind of like fast forward from media tour last year to now, I'm hearing 2 different statements, or seeing 2 different statements about like amazing media tour to this, and now I'm hearing cost in a live letter, and it's shocking. It's shocking. And then I see it play in the gameplay, and like I said, where's the rewards revamp and content difficulty changes?
Didn't Yoshi P say that like 7.3 was when we're going to start to see more of that content start to roll into the game? Because I know they've pretty much been limited per month.